Hi class, Ted Sturman here, Fleming College. We're doing lab number 1 using multimeters. So, earlier in this class you got an introduction to the multimeter. You had a chance to go through it with me online. We looked at it, figured out how to use it. You got to test some small batteries. So we're past that. The second part of this lab is to actually go out into the shop and do some of the testing on an actual machine. So the three parts of this test that we're going to go through, the first part is doing a voltage test on a battery, and that's the state of charge test. So when we first walk up to it, we're going to see what voltage is in that battery. The second part of the test is to start up the vehicle and show you the effects of the charging system and how it changes the voltage in that battery. Okay? The third part of that is we're going to shut it off and show what the battery comes back down to. All right, and we'll explain the three different parts of it. Now, while I start the truck, it's going to get loud, so I'm not going to talk a lot during that. Once we shut the truck off, then I will explain the three different steps. So first of all, this is a 2012 Ram 1500 with the 5.7 Hemi. Okay, question number 1. Explain the safety precautions that must be observed when using a multimeter. On D2L, there's a list of safety precautions that actually pertain right to that multimeter and will keep the meter safe. Okay, I'm going to talk about a couple things that will keep you safe when using the multimeter in and around any kind of machine, whether it be a drill rig or a truck or whatever. So, first of all, you're going to have safety glasses on when you're working underneath around anything. We are in a good practice at the school wearing safety glasses all the time. But out in the field, you have to really know when it's time to put them on and use them. All right, so first thing, safety glasses. We've got the fan in there, obviously spinning around, so dangerous to our eyes, also to our fingers. If you slip and get your finger in the fan, they're gone. So you've got a fan belt, rotating fan in there, all of that's dangerous. Okay, also, we've got cables off of our multimeter. We want to make sure that those don't get caught in the fan and dragged in and destroy both our meter and cause damage to the vehicle. So there's a few safety precautions there. Also, the safety glasses are going to protect your eyes from the battery. As you know, batteries have battery acid, and when the batteries are in different state of charge, they're gassing or not. So there could be dangerous gases in and around the battery. So watch out for that, especially with your breathing as well. Right, so those are some of the safety precautions that you have to keep in mind for this. All right, second. Okay, second question. With your selected piece of equipment in the shop, do a voltage test at the battery terminals to determine the state of charge. Document and explain your procedure and results. That's for 2 marks. All right. The third one, safely start and run the same piece of equipment. Repeat the state of charge test to determine battery voltage and alternator charging effects. Note any changes and explain the results. And number 4, after the same piece of equipment has been shut off, repeat the state of charge test to determine the voltage. Okay, note any changes. So, when we set up our meter here, remember that's the on and off button. And you can see I've picked the 20 volt scale. If I'm not sure on this vehicle whether it's 24 volt or 12 volt, then I'm going to err on the side of caution and go with a 200 scale. But for this one, I know it's a 12 volt battery, so I'm picking a range that's kind of in the middle. 12 volts will be perfect on the 20 scale. All right? So I'm going to leave that right there. You can see for the first part of this test, we're doing a state of charge. I've put my red on the positive. I've put my black connected to the negative, and it's showing me 12.77 volts. Okay, a fully charged battery should be at 12.6 volts all the time. So this is a brand new battery, and it's got a good charge in it. So that's what we're starting with, 12.7 volts. All right, so now I'm going to start up the vehicle, and the alternator is going to start working. When the alternator starts producing current, it's going to drive up the voltage in the battery. It's going to push power back into that battery. And you're going to see this number go anywhere from 13.5 volts up to 14.7 volts. That's a nice alternator charging range. So you'll see that on here. Now the best way to test an alternator is at about 3/4 throttle. So you could start up this machine and find that the voltage doesn't change very much at idle. But we're going to test our alternator at 3/4 throttle to see the effects. So when I go start this up, I'm going to idle it for a couple of seconds and then I'm going to rev it up. All right. One other safety precaution that I adopted and I really like to use is that when I am going to start up a vehicle, a machine, doesn't matter what, I always yell clear. And that's communicating with anybody else that might be working with me, okay, that I'm going to start this up. There could be somebody walk up on the far side of that vehicle and I don't know it, so this is going to make sure. All right, so here we go. Clear. Okay, so we'll analyze the results. I couldn't see what they were, but I'm assuming that it went up into the 13.5, 14, 14.5. Perfect, so we got a good charging system on there. Okay, also because of the fumes of the vehicle running, I opened up the garage door a little bit, make sure that there's no carbon monoxide buildup in the shop here. So now you can see that it's come back down to 12.6. Right? Now, because this vehicle has daylighters, it brought that down quicker. If there was no headlights on this vehicle, you would see that it would come down a lot slower because the alternator had pushed a bunch of power into this battery, okay? And then it takes a little bit before it drops back down to 12.6. All right, so those are the results that we got from our state of charge test in the 3 different ones. So you saw I started it up. I let it idle for a few minutes, get the oil pressure up, then I revved it up to 3/4 throttle and held it there for a little bit and then let it come back down to idle and then shut it off. So have we covered everything there? So we've done question 2, question 3, question 4. Explain how to install a multimeter in a simple electrical circuit. Okay, we'll talk about that during the lab. Okay, so we've covered the 4 questions pertaining to the state of charge test. Okay, perfect. Thank you.